What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Real Estate Investing School podcast. I'm your host, Brody Fawcett, and so excited you guys are joining us today. Now, we have a special episode. This has actually already been recorded. I'm just filming kind of the intro for it to set the stage for you guys. Now, you know that it's the end of the year, and this is the time where everybody takes their foot off the gas. And so this is also the time that it's a good chance to set goals and to get ahead, to roll with that momentum into the new year. So in this episode we have for you, it's a repeat episode. We're talking about goals and the process of setting those goals when it comes to real estate investing, when it comes to life. Like it, share it. This is my wife and I that we get a jam with today. So take a listen, let us know what you think, and enjoy.
You ready to do this?
Let's do this. We're going to talk about setting goals. This setup, guys, looks so much cooler than it is. Just kidding. I'm like, Brody, let's film like a quick little goal setting thing. We need to do that. And so next thing I know, we're like mic'd and headphones and everything. But if you saw our desks, you would get it. I have like a tiny ring light and he's got like just obviously the whole.
You got the gear. You got to use
the whole setup. He's a gear guy. I'm like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But I probably need to update some of my processes.
So funny. I guess maybe we'll get into that today because you want to talk goal setting, especially on a married life side of things as well. You can obviously, if you're single and you don't have a significant other, this all applies, but definitely bringing dynamics to goal setting and relationship. And that's one of the things that I'm like a environment type person. Feel good.
That's what he tells himself all the
good.
time. But if you saw his drawers, you know.
It's true. I love the idea of being organized, but I'm usually not.
By default, I'm for sure the more organized one, but you like the idea of it more than I do.
It's true.
That's our personalities, though, 100%.
Yep. But it's like Andrea surfs more than I do right now.
And I'm better too.
She's not better. That's what's ironic. She spends more time doing it, but she's definitely not better. But like I have the nicer board.
Yeah, the nicer surfboard. And I'm like, that's right. We'll figure it out.
She just doesn't care. It's great.
Fine. Anyways, okay, guys, we're going to dive into goal setting today. This is something we're really passionate about, and it can sound like, oh, goal setting. I hear that all the time. But I really think that a lot of the success that we've been able to see personally, financially, physically in our lives has come from being intentional each year, each month, each week. And that's the difference. It's not just each year, right? Is it has to continue. And so we have a method that we've created and used and a system that we use, and we want to share that with you guys today. And I think that like choosing to apply these things is what makes the biggest difference. You can listen to things all day. That doesn't change anything, but the application changes everything. So
100%.
We're excited.
Yeah. And who doesn't love goal setting, right? Maybe some of you don't actually like that, but I think it's one of those things we get so excited about change and thinking of like, oh, this is my ideal future. And if I were to implement these things, this is the change that could happen in me. And there's like this dopamine hit that comes
you get a
from,
dopamine response from goal setting.
Yeah, you really do.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of people fall in the trap of setting the goals and forgetting about it. And they get excited. So they set them again, but they don't actually follow through on them and see it to fruition. And so we're going to give you some, I don't know, tips, tricks, some things that have worked well for us, and not just setting the goal, but also scheduling the process that's going to lead you to living and fulfilling that goal, because that's ultimately where the exciting stuff happens, is living your dream life, not just dreaming your dream life.
Yeah, absolutely. Let those dreams become reality.
That's right. Cool. So let's dive into it. This is your thing. So she asked me to be a part of this. So I am the honorary guest to Andrea and Team Mamele today.
It's true. Guys, okay, no, this is going to be awesome. So January is an exciting time, but also you don't need January to start and set new goals. So what we like to do, we'll talk about our setup. Do we want to pull up slides, or do we want to?
Yeah, if you guys are watching this, we might as well, we'll just share our screen so you can see. If you're not watching this and you're listening, you can probably find it on YouTube somewhere, but this will at least give you a visual to what we have going on here.
Yeah, and we'll explain it, but this I think will be super helpful. I like to see things when people are talking. I feel like it really helps me. And so we'll just kind of show you this. So this is an exciting time, right? We're heading into January. We're heading into the new year. I'm all about setting goals in health and fitness, but I'm also a huge proponent and fan of setting goals in many, many aspects of your life. And I think that's what leads to a lot of success is like true health, true wellness, and true happiness and joy comes when we have balance and we're paying attention to more than just one area of our lives. So Brody is opening this slide PowerPoint presentation for all of us right now. And we will dive right in, hopefully, here we go. Looks like it's going to work today. So if you have a paper and pen and you really want to sit down and make this effective, like pull it out. Let's go through this. Let's dive in and let's set some big goals and actually accomplish them in 2023.
Yeah. It's crazy how many people, don't set goals other than one time a year, beginning of the year. And I remember doing this, like growing up as a kid, I always associate it with like, we'd grab pots and pans if we stayed up that late and we'd go and bang them outside as soon as it turned midnight. And then it was like, okay, I'm going to write down some goals. Like, and I would like get excited knowing that New Year's was coming, even though it was a few weeks away. Cause it's like, that's my permission to set a goal.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. Like what you just said, we don't need that to be able to set a goal, but most people, that's all they do. And then you take it a step further. If you actually remember those goals that you set, now you're like, you went from being, in the top 90% to the top 1% because you remembered the goal that you actually set a month later.
Yeah. And there's so many factors that goes into like goal setting and making it successful. I feel like the new year is just like one huge Monday. Like, you like have the weekend, which is like the end of the year. Everyone's like, oh, screw it. It's the weekend. Or right now, oh, screw it. It's the end of the year. And then January feels like this like Monday coming in, like today's the time you can restart. But if we think of it that way, then like eventually Friday comes.
Yep.
And the goals go
and the
away.
weekend
and
hits,
the weekend hits.
And it's like, that's my permission to.
Yeah. And that's like February or March for most, maybe even January 7th,
Yeah.
So let's make it not be that way. Let's make every day Monday, let's go.
So we have like a cheesy acronym before we get into it. This is just a quote that, love. It's if you're bored with life, you don't get up every morning with a burning desire to do things, then you don't have enough goals. And I just love this because it's like I said to our nanny this morning, I was like, I said, Kel, you living your best life just on my way out here. And she like rolls her eyes at me probably.
For sure.
Andrea would agree with that. But it's like really on a scale of 1 to 10, where are you at? Like 10, you're living your best life, and be honest with yourself. It's okay if you're not, right? Like, I don't think I'm a 10 by any means. What?
Okay. You don't feel like you're a 10 living your best life?
No, I just mean there's room for improvement always, right? Like I would say I'm probably like a 9.
Yeah.
Or a 9 plus,
yeah.
which I'm like proud of, but I wouldn't say I'm a 10 because I always want to hit that next level of like, I'm getting better and I'm living, there's a better life out there. That's what keeps you like striving and wanting to do better. But ultimately, if you're not like fired up and being like, I am on the path to living my best life, and you're not just saying it to say it, then it's like something's got to give because you don't have you don't have goals that are inspiring you and getting you fired up to like wake up every morning.
I think sometimes it's funny because they'll be like, oh, I just want to wake up in the morning and not have anything to like worry about. But then like those days happen, and I am grateful for when my alarm goes off in the morning. I almost feel like rushed to begin my day because there's like so many, like that burning desire is so strong.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, like I get to go do all of these things. Let's go. Like, here we go.
Yeah.
Like
it's like
cranking,
if you had
a new
a choice
day,
to take the day off, you wouldn't want to because like you're so fired up with accomplishing your goals.
Yeah. Unless I'm like surfing or something, then I'll take the day off. That sounds nice. But that's a good thing, right? Is having the ability to do that, is to take it off and do what you want to do. And 100%. And hopefully those things, like the line between work and play is very blurred.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Love it.
Dreaming bigger, faster. Let's go. We have an acronym for you. Goals. Great one. Super creative, but no, this is a great way to sit down and figure out how to set goals. So G of goals is get in the zone. And we're like huge on this. So for the last, 4 years?
Yeah, probably
4 years. We've gotten together at the beginning of every new year. We like rent a hotel room. We've been in Vegas. We've been in like Zion National Park. This year we'll be in Hawaii. And we sit down, we have a weekend, just us, and we go through our couples goal setting workshop. And you can see that on the screen. You can also go download it. It's free. But it's this step by step through all of your different areas of life, and you sit down and do it with your spouse, or you can do it with yourself. You don't have to do it with your spouse, but if you're married, do it with your spouse. And you go through every area of life and you're ranking yourself, you're writing down questions. Really, it's like this prompt to get you thinking and processing and setting goals in the right way. So for us, getting in the zone is getting away from like the normal things of life. If we stayed here, we'd be like, oh, we need to work on this project, or work's calling, or I need to send this over. But when we get out of our zone, we get all into a cozy one somewhere that's nice.
Yeah. Environment's so huge.
Yeah.
Right. And you want to be somewhere that inspires you. If it's just another day at the office, or if you work from home, for us, it's like, it wouldn't be the same if we came here to set our goals, right? Because you get distracted by everything that's going on. There's kids in the background, there's everything. So just stressing the importance of getting in the zone to set your goals, right? And if you're in an area that inspires you, then guess what? Your goals are going to be inspired, right?
Yeah.
If you're around people that think big and do big things, your goals are probably going to be big and turn into big goals. So it's so important.
And if you can't, or you feel like that's not possible right now, like, I promise you got to create a way. You can't be a victim to your circumstance. It has to be like, no, it's so important to me. I understand that like my life is dependent on these moments, like the quality of life that I live. I will make a way to make this happen, whether it's camping in a tent, like that can be very inspiring. Camping in a tent, setting up your tent and like having this time, but setting the time aside to do this. And the workshop asks questions like you go through personal things. What is your
when you say workshop, this is a guide that we follow, that we basically created. It's couplesgoalsettingworkshop.com. You can just go and download it. That's
what I'm saying when I say workshop, is like, feels like a workshop when you're in the zone with your spouse for 2 days, just going over all of these hard questions. But a lot of it's just questions that get you thinking, and then it leads you to goal setting. And the quality of your life is determined by the questions you ask yourself. If you're not doing any introspection or asking yourself any questions, how are you going to know what needs to change? But it's questions like, do you have a morning routine? What do you want people to say about you? What are you passionate about? What makes you the happiest? What do you believe is the most important thing in life? How would you define success? And like, these seem like simple questions, but then when you ask each other, it's like, oh, that's how you define that. And this is how I define that. That makes sense why we're seeing differently, or why we're wanting different things.
Yeah.
And it's like mind blowing when you go through each step where you're like, oh, that, like, now I get it. One of the prompts we have is for you to write down like your roles. So your roles personally, and then we like compare them and show them. And it's like, Brody can see, oh, I can see where I can help here. And I'm like, oh, okay, I can see where I can help here. And so just getting really clear on that. I highly, highly, highly recommend downloading this. If you're not looking at the screen right now, it's couplesgoalsettingworkshop.com.
Yeah. And I love how you brought up the fact of communicating together, because it's one thing to understand your goals, and it's one thing to understand, what you want. But when we communicate that with each other, I feel like that's where like the power comes in.
Totally.
And it's like, it's interesting because this is really only two days that we spend doing this every year. But then like, even we're reflecting back on it and we're coming up, it's been almost a full year since our last one.
Yeah.
But like, we still remember that, it's crazy how 2 days set aside can make such like a foundational pillar for your life.
Well, and it's so cool because like, you're setting these, you're setting these goals, you're setting these things up, you're taking the time to be intentional on how you want your life to look. And then we're revisiting it every single week, because that's what we do, is we plan every single week. And in those planning sessions, like, we're going over our top 3 that we come up with, our top 3 things we're focused on. We're going over our roles, how we can help each other. And like, that's where the success comes. Like, yes, this is a crucial part, this first step, but then like, if you'll just forget about it unless you keep returning to it. And I feel like this is a great setup to be able to do that.
100%.
Like, we've literally had years where we've set goals, and you set 1 year, 5 year, 10-year goals at the end of this little guidebook. And we've had years where we're like, there's no way we're going to hit that in a year, or it feels like a scary stretch. And then you reflect and you're just like amazed, but it's because of the process that you set up.
Yeah. It happens every year. You're like, how do I think extra big? And then all of a sudden, a year later, you're like, wow, I thought I was thinking big and I actually wasn't.
Well, and in health and fitness, we talk about how important it is to measure your goals. Like, how do you know if you're making progress if you're not measuring anything, right? Like, it's like, I always laugh. It's like, oh, I'm not seeing any change. Well, what measurements are you looking at? Oh, well, like, I just you're not measuring anything. Same here. Like that, what you don't measure, you can't improve. So measure it, check in with it so that you can improve where you're wanting to improve.
Right on. Okay. So that's G, get in the zone. We can't stress that enough. You don't have to spend a lot of money either. Like if you don't have the money,
That's what I'm saying.
go somewhere, camp. Yeah.
Starbucks.
So the O stands for, in our acronym here, order of operations. And I always think back to math class. Do you remember order of operations? Did you?
Dude, I was actually terrible at math.
See, math
great
was
I'm a great reader, but like
reading, no.
Horrible at math. Like I think I scored a 31 on the ACT in reading, but in math, I was probably like a 17.
Mm.
And he's the opposite. He's great at math. Really slow reader.
Really detailed reader that takes his time but comprehends next
when
level.
Brody reads, I just am like, I'm 20 pages ahead. I can't.
She is. Okay. But
okay.
But in math, like order of operations, you have to do things in order or else it didn't make sense, right? If you remember like FOIL, I don't even know what it stands for. It's like first something, last in there, inner is I, right? Like you have to follow the order of operations. And so goal setting is the same way. It's important to follow a procedure, right? It's important to go through it in the right format, answer the right questions, not just sitting down and you're getting the zone environment and saying like, cool, like I'm going to set 3 goals this year. This is what they are. And it's more random, right?
Yeah. I'm going to lose 30 pounds. I'm going to make $1 million. I'm not going to eat any sweets. It's like, nothing. Yep. I promise nothing's going to come from those goals.
100%. And that's like what most people set.
Yeah, for sure.
And so anyhow, here, like what we can stress is, yes, download that guide and go through that. But another thing that we like to do is list out all of our roles and then rank ourselves within those roles. So you've probably heard of like the full person paradigm. Sometimes we'll go through it this way. What's the full person
paradigm, just in case someone hasn't heard of it?
Yeah. So you basically have, I think it's like 8 categories, right? You have physical, social, spiritual, environmental, financial, occupational in your job, emotional, and intellectual. And basically you can use this, right? Or you can list out your roles that you personally have if you don't want to go this route exactly. But we'll rank ourselves like 1 to 10. And there's actually, I think it's called the Wheel of Life, and you can find it online somewhere. It's just you can download it, but it actually has these 8 principles, and they're in like little slivers, like pie slivers. And you rank yourself 1 to 10, and you actually shade in how far along you are. So the idea is like a wheel rolling down the road or on a car, right? If you're 10 out of 10 on all those areas, then the wheel's going to run very, very smooth, right? There's no lag, there's no bumps. But all of a sudden you get a few of these areas, maybe one's a 2 out of a 10, and maybe one's a 4, and maybe one's a 6, maybe one's an 8, right? All of a sudden it's not this perfectly shaped wheel or this perfectly shaped pie. Instead, it's kind of like bumping along. And so the idea is like, you want to be well-rounded. You want to look at each of these areas in your life and look at it specifically and say, hey, I am a 4 out of a 10 in this category. Why? What's keeping me from being a 10 out of 10, right? And those are the things that, like, when we dive into the order of operations, we really look at, okay, yes, I'm crushing it in my business, but like my relationships suck. They're 2 out of 10. Like how good do you feel about yourself overall? Like you're not living your best life if that's the case.
Or my relationship with my kids or whatever it is. And it's not about being perfect in each category. It's about being intentional in each category and realizing that, like, hitting those goals and feeling your best and having your best year, your best month, your best day.
And improving. And like there's so much fulfillment that comes with, even if you're a 2, but you're working on going from a 2 to a 3, you feel so much better than year after year being like, cool, I'm a 2. Oh man, I'm a 2 again. I'm still a 2.
It was a 6 for like 3 days, but now I'm back to a 2 because I set too big of goals or I wasn't realistic with what I was wanting. And a lot of that couples goal setting workshop has a lot of the same stuff. Writing out your goals, it goes through each category.
And just to break it down really quick, and obviously this isn't like all your answers on this, whatever 45-minute long podcast that we're doing here, but we like to go through and ask the questions like, okay, what's keeping me from being a 10? Like, what does a 10 out of 10 look like? And spend time in each of these roles that you have in your life. If you're a mom, if you're a husband or a wife, right? Like these are all different roles that you fulfill. If you're a business owner, if you're an entrepreneur, if you are an athlete, right? You go to the gym, like even if you're not quote unquote an athlete, right? You consider yourself an athlete in the mornings and you go to the gym, right? Like how are you performing in these areas? And then when you ask yourself, what's keeping me from being my best? It's good because you ask the right questions and you start to realize, okay, this is what's keeping me from doing this. So these are the areas I need to work on. And so what we like to do is set at least 3 goals for each of these areas, each of these roles in your life. And then kind of the next phase from there, and you want to take your time doing this, is you want to pick your top 3 goals overall, right? Pick your top 3 categories. And then from there, you should have 3 goals in each of those categories. And then you pick your top goal in each of those 3 categories that you want to focus on for the new year. And we always come away, right, with our individual top 3 goals. And we always come away with our couple goals that we have together for our family. And just knowing that, because that's one of the things, diving into all this stuff, it can get very overwhelming. You can come back and you're like, I have hundreds of goals. Like I'm ready to take over the world.
There's so many things I could do better too. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You get down that rabbit hole and like, it's so powerful just coming away with, okay, these are my top 3, right? These are my big 3 goals. And like you ask any of my friends that were with us, like a lot of times we'll like to take our friends to these goal
Started
setting
bringing
retreats.
friends. Yeah.
We still have our separate times, and then we'll meet up in the evenings for dinner and share goals and stuff. But anyone that was around us, like they know our top 3 goals.
Yeah.
My friends from, I do like my own friend goal setting retreat every year as well. And like all my friends know my top 3 goals. Like they're my passwords for the whole year. They're like these things that I'm so focused on, they're the background, your screensaver, and you just want to remember them and keep them top of mind for the whole year.
Totally. Like one of our goals from last year that we set in 2022 for this year was we wanted to like own a beach house. And that was like this idea we had at the end of 2021. And like slowly and surely we kept taking the steps, and we said that at our goal setting retreat. We didn't say we were going to move, but we said we wanted to own a beach house on Maui had been our decision then. And it's just crazy. Like now at the end of the year, here we are living in our beach house on Maui. And like life, that wouldn't have just happened. Like this opportunity doesn't just like fall into your lap. We had to like intentionally make it happen. It was a lot of work, a lot of time, but we knew that was our goal. And then one of our other things was we wanted to provide experiences for our family, like provide those experiences. And we've had both of our families out here, like having so much fun and taking them and showing them this island that we've like grown to love, and provided those experiences where like most of our family had never been to Hawaii. We both come from big families,
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just like those little things. And I think like that's the magic of goal setting, is it's like once you realize that the process works, if you just stick to that process and you just keep moving, and you see like that first little piece where you're like, wait, I set this goal. I created a process. I followed through and I just hit it. Like you've probably felt that before in your fitness journey at some point. And you're like, wait, it actually works. It's like you hear it, but all of a sudden it actually works. And then it's like, oh, okay. Like now I know what I want next.
Yeah. It's
like,
addicting.
Like, let's go. Like now I'm not afraid to set these goals or afraid to chase these things, because like, I know that I can create and hit those goals that I've set for myself through following the process. And I actually, through this process, have also become a lot more not like stingy, but like very, very calculated on what goals I set and what I'm willing to commit or not to commit to. Like, yeah, for sure. I'd love to, I don't know, like you could say anything like, oh yeah, I'd love to be 10 times fitter at the end of next year. Like who wouldn't like that? But I also can sit here and be like, but I'm feel really good with where I'm at. And I have other things, but I'm not willing to commit that time.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. But like, it's easy to just be like, well, yeah, I'm going to set that goal because it sounds great. Like, that's not going to get you there. Be really intentional. Like, do I really want this? And am I willing to do what needs to be done in order to get there?
Yep. 100%. Well, I think the reason you feel that way now, and I think the reason that you're saying that it's come to that point where you're very stingy or calculate on the goals that you set, is because if you set a goal, you accomplish it,
yes,
period.
Yes.
Like, or you do whatever's in your power to do it. And so it's not that it's not possible to go be 10 times fitter, but it's more of the principle of like, if I commit to this, I'm going to do that, and other things are gonna just fall
Like
short.
my
Like
back,
it is what it is.
my
Like,
back's
do I
against
want
the
to commit to
wall.
that?
Like I said, I'm going to do this. So like now I'm going to do it.
Yeah. And I feel like you and I are both very, very much like that. And it's gotten more so that way. Like just as you start to keep these promises to yourself and you realize like, yeah, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to actually do it. And I think that comes back to the power of really just going home with those 3 goals that you have. And you don't need to take all of these other things. Obviously, you can work on other things and that's fine. But just knowing these are my big 3 and writing those things down every single day and just keeping them like in your mind, and you know what you're working towards. And we'll get to it in a second. Our acronym for S is scheduling the process, and we'll talk about, not just setting a goal like, hey, I want to be 10 times fitter, but actually what does the process to get to that goal look like? And that's such a crucial concept to understand. And we'll talk about that.
Yeah. Next slide.
Ready to move on?
Let's do it.
All right. G.O.A. is attach meaning to it.
Yep. The more it means, the higher the chances are of accomplishing that goal. So why are you setting the goal? That's like always a good thing. Are you doing it for you? Are you doing it for someone else? Like, are you doing it like why? Why do you want that goal? Why do we want a beach house on Maui? Why do you want to be more fit? Why do you want to lose weight? Why do you want to hit your macros? Like, why? I think that's the first step. You need to know why you're doing it, and then you can attach the meaning to that goal. Like for us, a lot of this of like moving out here, we were like providing experiences for our families and for others and for our kids. Like that was a huge thing.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, definitely.
Like, and so that there's a lot of meaning to that.
Yeah.
And I remember like walking on that trail in southern Utah, and we were talking about this, like, oh, it'd be so cool. Like, that's so exciting. And like a place that our families can come and our friends can come, and we have it for years and years. Like that was so motivating to us.
Yeah. And we had no idea how. I think that's important to understand too, is like, you don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to know exactly how it's going to happen. But when your why, right, you're attaching meaning becomes big enough, right? The how becomes an easy thing to figure out. Like you go find a way. And I think a dramatic example is like, it's the same concept is like, let's say you are, try not to use health and nutrition and fitness examples all the time.
This is a great place to use that.
I guess that's your audience, right? And it's what I need to work on. But like, let's say like you're, so you're trying to hit your macros, right? Every single day for a week. And the consequence of you not hitting your macros this week is you don't get $100 bill, right? That's rewarded to you and promised to you if you hit them at the end of the week, versus like your family's in danger and you don't get your kid back or something like I said, overly dramatic. But guess which one's going to actually force you to hit your goals, right? Like there's no way you're not going to not hit your macros if you have a big meaning attached to something. And you're, like I said, dramatic example, maybe that's a bad one to use, but you get the idea. The more something means that, like, the more you're going to follow through and do the things that are required to do it. So if it doesn't mean a lot, you don't put forth a lot of effort.
Well, I always think like, okay, people are like, I just can't get out of bed in the morning. Like no matter what, like I just can't get out of bed. And I'm like, okay, well, if your kid's crying during the middle of the night, do you hop out of bed? Well, yeah, they're crying
3 times last night.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they're crying. Yeah. So you can hop out of bed just for the right stimulus, right? So how do we change that stimulus? What stimulus do you need to get out of bed in the morning to make it to the gym on time and stuff like that? And so I think people say like phrases like that or words like that, where it's like, oh, I'm not consistent. I just can't do anything consistently. Well, yeah, everything you're doing right now is consistent. It's just not in line with hitting your goals. So you're actually really consistent, just not at the things you're wanting to be consistent at. So you can be consistent, right? It's just like setting that up and changing the mindset around all of it. Like, I think this is kind of going off, but like, that victim mentality, like it hurts and we have to call each other out all the time, but it's like, you have the ability. It's just deciding to be the victor and not the victim, and letting everything that happens be like, it comes from me, like I'm in control of everything that I can't control. And even if something happens that's against my control, I can always control my response. And I just think that changes everything when you're setting goals.
Yeah, I agree. I love that. You're in control. You have the power. but attach meaning to it, make it mean something to you. And even if it's like a facade too, like even if your back's really not against the wall, like make it seem like it is.
Or if you can't find meaning, then it's like, okay, well then why did you set the goal?
Yeah.
Then it's probably not for you.
Yeah.
Or maybe you need to find out why you're wanting that.
100%. Cool.
L
stands for let everyone know. Like how I got a picture up here, and
I know Brody made this PowerPoint. Dream it, write it, build it, live it.
Brittany made it. Right. So like let everybody know, right? Be loud about it, like be obsessed about it. And I think that this is something that in our culture today, it's like you kind of like get shamed if you wear your heart on your sleeve, right? Or it's like, oh, that person, if you put out there what you want, it's like, oh, they're being cocky or they're being, overly confident, and you just need to be happy with what you have and where you're at. And like, I think my response to that is we're put here to be the best versions of ourselves, to grow and to maximize our potential, right? And it's no accident that as we're growing and as we're becoming better and progressing and becoming the person that we like are capable of becoming, we feel really, really good.
Totally.
Like we're fulfilled. Like it goes back to the concept. I don't care if you're a 2 out of 10, if you're a 2 working towards a 3, you feel really good because you're progressing and growing. And so I think that like, we just need to step into that and own that and be like, hey, this is what I want. This is what I'm accomplishing. Yes. I wrote this down. Andrew makes fun of me because like I love Pinterest just because like I like the boards like inspire me. I like have my inspiration boards. I got my dream houses. I got like, but it fires me up, and I want to be loud about it.
Yeah, and you're definitely loud about your goals, which is a good thing. I think this relates so well too in like the fitness world. If you don't eat the cookie at the party, everyone's like, well, why aren't you eating the cookie at the party? You can't eat a cookie at the party, Or if you do eat the cookie, like, oh, I thought you were trying to be better. Why are you eating cookie? I thought you were trying to lose weight. I thought you were trying to hit your goals, right? And choosing those people, like, okay, let everyone know your goals and then like put up the blinders. And maybe not everyone needs to know, but like this is the accountability buddy situation. The reason why we don't want to tell people our goals is because 1, fear. What if we don't hit them? 2, it's like kind of embarrassing. And like, those are the main things, It's like, it's like a cop out to not tell people your goals.
Yeah. More if you fail, more people know that you failed, and it looks worse on your end.
But it's like, tell some people, like, want your goals to be met, that you want people to know, and you want that accountability, because that's like, you're going to hit these goals. And at the end of the year, they're going to be like, that was sick. I just watched you hit those goals.
Yeah. I watched you say that out loud. Like
I watched you through the whole process.
Yeah. And that's inspiring.
It is so amazing. And trust me, people will say what they want to say until you're progressing way past them, because people that have things to say about people that have goals, it's because they're reflecting their insecurity onto you.
I always think, when I think about this one, I always think of the 500 cup chocolate milk challenge.
Oh man.
Like a lot of my friends know me for that. And it was
you kind of need it. Yeah. You need to definitely explain
this dumb goal that I set. And I say dumb goal because it was just a random goal. And I was in, basically before I served a mission for my church, you go like this training, MTC training center, missionary training center. And I was there for, I think 12 weeks, but set this goal that made no sense. But it was like, hey, I'm going to drink 500 glasses of chocolate milk before I leave here. And it equated to like 3 glasses per meal per day. And this is so like gross, dense chocolate milk. And yeah, I told everybody I was going to do it. And I kept track on my notebook that I carried around with me. And I remember like halfway through school, I'm just like, I'm so sick of chocolate milk. But I told everybody, and everybody's always asking, how are the glasses going? And then like still, 10 plus years later, people will be like, oh yeah, I remember when you set that goal. And like I said, it's the dumbest goal, but that held me accountable to it because I told everyone about it.
If you wouldn't have told anyone, would you have finished?
No, I would have stopped. I'm still trying to lose like those pounds from that chocolate milk.
Oh man.
They sit like, right around my waist.
That's the perfect story though. It's so true. You'd have never hit that. It's just like when we're telling people, like when we ran the Grand or when we've ran a race, like if no one knew that we were doing it, would you keep going?
Yeah.
And hopefully you would. But like, also it's okay to set up the process. Like if other people are there holding you accountable, that's not you being a failure. That's you setting up the process so you see success.
Yeah.
Like successful people aren't even like that much more disciplined or motivated than people that aren't hitting their goals. They just have set up a process where they don't fail.
Yeah. What I think you nailed it. And I think that's really the key. And I think the more people crack that and figure that out to where you put a process and a system together that makes it easier to follow through with your goal than it does not to.
Totally.
And Atomic Habits
So I was
is
going to say,
phenomenal, right? Like
James
talking
Clear, man.
about all this stuff. But
if you want to read more, set out more books. If you want to be on your phone less, don't have your phone with you all the time. Like if you want to eat less candy, don't have it sitting on your
give
counter.
the password to somebody else.
Yes. Like
and give them $1,000. And if you ask for your password that week, they get to keep that $1,000.
yes.
Like,
And it's like, that's like, you don't need to have this. Nobody has just this like bowl of willpower that never runs out. Like it runs out for everyone. It's just that process there. And it's just so important. Like I literally getting out of bed in the morning to work out. I always say this, but like, especially when we were in mainland, my friends would meet me in the gym at 5:30 and I knew that. And that is like one of the only things getting me out of bed. And how did I know that? Because when they would cancel and not be able to come, I would get out into the gym later, no matter what. Like, even if I was like, oh, I got to be out early this morning, like I'd sleep in 5 minutes later or 15 minutes later.
you knew they weren't there.
I knew they weren't there. And I'd like stop looking at my phone past like 8. I'd turn them off silent so I couldn't see if they couldn't come. That way, no matter what, I'd be out in the gym before I looked at my phone and saw whether they could make it or not.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think that's a lot of people might look at that and be like, oh, you're weak, or like, that's not, you should be self-motivated. And despite that, but I think that that's a superpower, is recognizing that, hey, this is an area that I'm going to struggle. Like I already know, how easy is it to eat healthy right when you go home from the gym?
Yeah. So easy.
So easy. How easy is it to wake up on Monday? You reference, I don't know if everyone loves Mondays as much as we do, but like Mondays, it's easy to wake up early. It's a fresh start. It's like easy to get a good hard workout in. It's easy to do the hard things first, right? But then like slowly later on the week, like it's
later on in the day, nighttime, you're like,
late.
oh, put on a movie, pull out the ice cream.
Yeah. But I think that there's something to be said about that, and having like the intuition to think ahead and be like, hey, this is where I'm going to struggle. Or like, I didn't tell you this, but yesterday I was really hungry. I think it was like 3:00 and I hadn't eaten lunch, and I was like, oh, I'm so hungry. And we don't have a ton of food in our fridge right now.
Yeah. All of our family just left. I need to go grocery shop.
Literally, I'm looking for like something to eat. And
there's like eggs.
I found that cookie dough that my mom made and she put in a bag.
Yeah.
I broke off like a huge chunk of it. Yeah. And like ate the whole thing. And I felt so good because I was like so hungry. But point being is like I ate it because it was easy and it was available and it was there and it was right there. And had I thought through like, okay, I know I'm going to be like really hungry right now going in, like what are my options to eat? And if not, we just choose the path of least resistance. And so it's like, hey, how do we intentionally create the path of least resistance for our benefit that like leads to our goals? And I don't think there's anything wrong with engineering that.
Nope. Nothing wrong. It's actually great. That's the difference between people that hit their goals and don't,
Yeah.
Next
cool.
slide.
That could be like a whole podcast.
Yeah, I know. I could go off on that forever. Actually, I'm holding back.
Okay. Here's the S. And this is schedule the process. And this is like probably my favorite thing.
Yep. This is what we've been talking about.
Yeah.
Like,
it really is.
This is what it all comes down to, is a goal is just a goal unless there's a process to get there.
Yeah. And I think that, like I said, you set it and you forget it, right? Our New Year's resolutions, it's a brand new year. I'm feeling good. I set it and forget it. Even like weekly goals, I set it and forget it. Like you don't want to forget about it, right? You want to schedule the process. And the best analogy for this, I think, is, let's say one of my goals is to strengthen my relationship with my wife. Right. That's a very, very easy goal to set. I feel like a lot of us probably have that. How do we strengthen our relationship with our spouse? That's my goal. I need to do better. Right. And so we can maybe take a step further and be like, hey, I want to have a date night once a week with my spouse. And so it's a goal. It's easy to set, right? A lot of us probably set that goal, but the difference in setting a goal and scheduling the process is this. Instead, you say, I want to strengthen the relationship with my wife. So, or husband, what I'm going to do is one night per week, I'm going to schedule that as date night, and I'm going to lock that in. And right now I'm going to go and tell my wife, communicate with her, hey, this is our date night. Does that work for you? Awesome. We're on the same page. I'm going to call my sitter and make sure that's scheduled out.
Yes.
ahead of time, and maybe for every single day of the week for the whole year, I want to take it a step further. I'm going to go in my phone and turn that on focus mode or whatever during that time frame, so I'm not on my phone during that time. If I want to take it a step further, I'm going to set a notification and a reminder 2 days before to set reservations for that night. Or if you have an assistant, like schedule with them and they're setting it, so it's like someone else is doing it and it's set up for you. And then I'm going to prepay my babysitter for the next 2 months, so like she gets paid
Yes.
regardless if she's coming or not. All to the point where if I don't follow through with that, it's going to be way more difficult to skip that weekly date night with my wife
Yes.
than it is just to go on the date.
And yes, and I hope it's not too hard to go on a date, but like that is the difference. It's like, okay, I'm going to go on, I want to strengthen my relationship. Cool, great goal. But then when you say that, like what I did is I went and did X, Y, and Z at the end of the year, like which process or which wording would have gotten you there? Obviously the one where you schedule it. So like, yeah, get psycho, like so intricately detailed on what that process looks like. And if you don't know the process, then learn the process, start researching it. Like, then that's your first goal, is to learn the process of achieving that goal.
Yeah.
If you want financial freedom, okay, through what? If you want to lose weight, okay, through what? What does that look like? A lot of you have taken the steps to have a Mamele elite coach. Like that is a great step to take, because now you have a coach that's holding you accountable to those goals you've set. But still, nothing happens unless you do something, right? Like it all comes down to you scheduling that process and following through with it and making it a fail safe.
I heard this. I wish I could remember which podcast this was, but just like a couple of days ago. But he just talked about like this is the way to make sure you hit all of your goals no matter what. And he first talked about you got to take your goal and you got to turn it into something like quantifiable, right? Like it has to be whatever, like a number, right? And then you're basically breaking down that number. But it made me think about it because so many times we set a goal of like, I want to be like in really good shape, right? Or I want to be more fit. And instead it's like, well, what is being more fit? What does that mean? Does that mean running, a
Yes.
mile in less than 8 minutes? Does that
Yes.
mean
Deadlifting
10% body
300
fat?
pounds?
Does that mean yes?
Because those
right?
are all different,
100%. Yeah. But
Unless
when
you're-
you schedule a number with it, then it's cool because it's like, cool, this is where I am right now. And now I have a tracking metric to work up to where I want to be. I have something that I can actually measure versus like, I want to be more fit. Well, how do you define that?
Yep. You got to define it. And I think like we can wrap it up, but I just think like get excited about the process and get excited about the power that you have, I have, we all have, to create the life that we want to live. And if there's someone else that's doing what you want to be doing, or someone else that you can probably stop sharing your screen. Yeah, all that. And there's someone else that like looks how you want to look, or has the business that you want to have, or like what, or is the mom you want to be, whatever that is, like break it down. What does that look like? How do you want to be that? And go be that. Like it's exciting.
Yeah.
If
And
you're not changing, you're not growing. Like change, look back over the last year and be like, wow, what an awesome year. So grateful for these things. And like this next year, I want to be like even better in this area, or I want to do this, or like whatever that looks like for you. It's just so empowering. I wish I could just like, oh, it makes me so passionate because it's just cool. I've seen it in my life.
Yeah. And I think what fires us up the most is we see too many people that are like, they're just complacent and they're stagnant, right? And anytime we're stagnant in life, it's just not a good recipe. Like it's just a recipe for depression and not like being stoked about life in the day. And like it's when we're pushing ourselves to the next level. And I think sometimes you just need permission to be able to do that. And it's like, hey, you have permission to be a better version of yourself. Like that is okay. There's nothing wrong with
there's
that.
There's nothing wrong with how you are now. But like, don't we all want to be better every day? Yeah, for sure. Every month, every week, every year. Like that's the goal, and that's the purpose of life too, I think,
100%. And I will say this too, just going back to scheduling the process, weekly planning is huge.
Put a huge plug in there.
Yeah. And obviously we don't have time to dive into like our entire weekly planning process and what that looks like. But like to me, weekly planning, that's the link that goes from setting our annual goals and actually accomplishing them, because that's the one thing we do every single Sunday that realigns us with our goals. And it's like, hey, is my process scheduled to accomplishing these goals? And we get that reflection on a weekly basis. I think that's weeklyplanning.com. There's a guide for that if you guys want to dive into that more. But
and if you're sitting here and you're like, well, like I'm just a stay-at-home mom, or I'm just a student, or I'm whatever, and like down the road later or whatever, like stop yourself right there. No matter what circumstance or situation you're in, like there's room for goal setting, there's room for improvement, and there's room to enhance your life. And that's exciting.
yeah, and I think that's what's so fun about diving into books and diving into other podcasts and diving into like
Learning.
Yeah, learning. Like last night we had the CEO of Bucked Up that I was able to interview, where like they're gonna do $300 million in sales this next year. And it's like he's a normal guy.
Totally.
And
Like
it's just like
it's
that could be
mind-blowing.
anybody,
Yes.
sitting at home and like, and it's not about the sales, but just creating a legacy. It's like you have your own legacy and you have all the tools and the resources and the assets to be able to go and do that. And like you can do that. And I think sometimes we just don't believe that we can. And it's like,
Absolutely.
no, you can do that. You
Yep.
create that.
Start small, start with something, and keep moving and keep building on that. And like there's a whole lifetime to keep improving. And that's exciting. So guys, happy almost.
And girls.
Yeah, guys, girls, that's mainly ladies. Keep good luck moving into 2023. Get intentional, plan a goal setting weekend. We highly, highly encourage that. And I'm so excited to see like a year from now, the time will pass regardless. So like a year from now, you might as well just, spend it in pursuit of your goals.
Yes.
See you guys.
Agreed. Peace.